We're back at it again after another 2 week long break with One Piece chapter 1148. Let's get into it. We're getting another continuation of Oni Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage. Super big mouthful, but I'm going to keep saying it each week because it's not stopping anytime soon. It looks like we're continuing the story where Yamato last left off. She's now leaving Raizo, Otam, and Speed behind, and she's now heading to the Hakumai region to deliver a Straw Hat to Kawamatsu. And this is now, she has a retainer. She has, what's her name, Ulti, and Page One with her, who are now her two retainers, I guess. So I guess Yamato is slowly building up her own crew. Maybe other Beast Pirate members are going to show up, like Sasaki or Black Maria. They took out Who's Who. We don't really know what happened to him. Maybe he died, but yeah, that's, the cover story, and we'll see what's going on with that next week. We're continuing where we left off last chapter, where Sommers is making demands as a giant and threatening the lives of the children, and now they're actually following through with that because they're not giving them any time to make a rational decision. So the first one to walk the plank is Ronja, who actually has the namesake of the chapter. Now, this is actually very interesting. A lot of One Piece fans have been pointing out this is actually the first time we're seeing any character walk the plank in our pirate manga, and it's not even from any pirates. I believe some people were saying that Buggy did it. That might be anime only, so I'm not sure. I haven't gone back. I tried doing some research, but I didn't see anything about it. So yeah, the first character to walk the plank is this sweet, innocent little girl who's always smiling, and it's not even by pirates that are making her do it. But basically, yeah, they're like, hey, we're gonna make Ronja walk off the edge of Elbaf, and we're gonna drop her if you guys don't follow our demands. It's at this point everyone on the island is scrambling around trying to figure out what to do. They're going back and forth about how they should handle this. A lot of people are like, hey, we can't let the children die, while other giants are making the argument that, hey, the government is trying to oppress us, they're trying to control us, and if we listen to their demands now, then we'll be wrapped around their finger and we won't have any free will or agency, basically. And people are like, well, what are we supposed to do? Let the children die? And so they're basically going back and forth. Meanwhile, Scopper Gabon is still rushing towards the scene, and at this point Robin is like, I can't take this anymore, I need to take action. Chopper, you stay here in Saul's beard, and I'm gonna step out onto the scene. At this point, Sommers is bragging, he's acting cocky, which allows Robin to actually get the drop on him, and then she launches her attack. So then first she slaps him away with like one of her giant palms, and then she uses her clutch attack to break his spine. Now at this point, Sommers regenerates just like it's normal, but Robin takes it a step further and she actually grabs him and she jumps off the cliff with him. Now when I read this scene originally, I'm just like, why would Robin jump off the cliff? Like, why doesn't she just make a clone and do that? Fortunately, Oda also thought of that, so she jumps off the cliff and she uses a clone to do so she didn't actually like take herself out with Sommers. And we've actually seen her use the clones multiple times. I do wish it was something that she did more, but maybe it's one of those things where it takes a lot of energy out of her to make like a fully functioning clone, like with its own, ableism and whatnot. Granted, it still follows Robin's will, but it's basically a second Robin, so it probably just takes a lot of energy out of her. It's at this point Saint Sommers is like, wow, Robin, you've really thought of everything, but you forget one thing, is that I'm a Briar man, so I'm actually able to just pierce your body and take care of you. And then he realizes like, oh, okay, this is a clone. Wow, Nico Robin's actually really smart. At this point, Sommers just kind of like uses like the thorns to come out of his body to connect back to Elbaf. We get to a point where like abilities in One Piece, they kind of just do whatever they need to be done for like the situation they're in. Granted, we're dealing with stronger people, so they're able to like be more creative with their abilities because that's how strength in One Piece works. It isn't just like power level thing. So it does make sense, but so basically it's like Robin's effort was kind of wasted because at that point nothing really got accomplished because Robin was trying to take Sommers out of range for his ability to like stop working on the children so they could hurry up and grab the children, but unfortunately that didn't really work out. So now that Sommers is back into the fight, he begins the countdown again, which causes the Giants to go back into a panic, and they're still debating about what they should do, which is when Ronja speaks up, and she's like, hey guys, I love libraries, I love the school, I love learning, so I don't want you to have to like sacrifice all that for me. I'll be fine. She's just trying to put up a brave face. She is a little girl at the end of the day, so she is scared. So she does start crying, but even while she's crying, she does put on a smile even with the tears running down her face. And I feel like as One Piece fans, we always resonate with that. We like seeing characters that smile in the face of death. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool moment. So at this point, Elder Jarl gives the okay to burn down the library and the school, and I feel like it's really important to note why this is being done, because in the previous chapter, Sommers established, she's like, okay, not only do we want you to pledge your fealty to us, we want you to destroy your culture and your history because you have no need for those types of things. So at that point, they're like, yeah, we want you to do the ultimate sacrifice and get rid of all your history, because your new history will just be following the God's Knights and the will of the world government. So it's at this point where Sommers is feeling like he's on cloud nine. He's thinking he's getting away with it. He's laughing at his master plan, and he actually manages to tie Robin up in the thorns. And I believe he has we see the hilt and the guard of his sword. I believe it might be an actual sword, but from what I've seen, he turns the hilt and the actual blade of the sword into an actual baseball bat or briar sword or whatever. So he's about to hit Robin with that, which at the last second Scopper Gaban arrives, and he actually manages to cut off Saint Sommers' arm, and it doesn't regenerate. And a lot of people are saying that oh, he did it so fast that his brain doesn't have time to process what's going on. I don't believe that's what happened. I believe that Scopper Gaban did an air slash which cut his arm off, and then at that point then he actually made physical contact with him with his axes. I think he did two things in a quick succession. Now, the reason his arm isn't regenerating is a lot of people have been saying it's Conqueror's Haki or an advanced application of Haki. I'm not personally sure. What I just think it's going to come down to is that it's going to be an advanced form of Armament Haki or an advanced form of Conqueror's Haki. I'm not really necessarily sure. I do think that Conqueror's Haki is the end-all be-all when it comes to beating the strongest opponents. We see that the only way to hurt people like Kaido and keep them down for good is with Conqueror's Haki. We see that Joy Boy's Conqueror's Haki, I'm saying Conqueror's Haki a lot in this video, we do see that Joy Boy's Conqueror's Haki was enough to paralyze all 5 Gorosei and send them back home, basically, except, Saturn, because he was, physically on the island. So, yeah, I do think that Scopper Gaban used, Conqueror's Haki here, and he cuts down Saint Sommers. Now, is he out of the fight? I'm not sure. I do hope we get to see more of, Robin in his interaction, but I'm happy to see Scopper Gaban here, too. I almost actually forgot to mention this, but right before Scopper Gaban lands his attack on Sommers, he actually says, "Long time no see," and that causes Saint Sommers to react. He's like, "Scopper Gaban," he freaks out, and that's when Gaban lands his attack on him. Now, Saint Sommers reacting that way isn't too crazy because we are talking about one of the wings of the Pirate King, so he is famous, the same way anyone would freak out if Rayleigh was coming at them, right? What's interesting is that Gaban said "long time no see," which most likely means that Sommer was there 40 years ago during the God Valley incident. That's just really interesting to go into the lore of how the Gorosei and Imu's powers work and how the God's Knights, because, the reason why everyone's talking about this now is because Garling was a youthful person. We don't know how old he lived. He was a teenager in his 30s and his 40s back then, but he's an old man now. But it doesn't seem like the Gorosei or maybe even Sommers have aged since then, so it's did Garling not have the powers, or have the aging process been different over the years? We just don't know how that works out. So there's a lot of speculation going on about it, because we still don't know what the Gorosei and the God's Knights and Imu are, and how does Garling and Shamrock play into all of this. So we're just slowly putting the pieces together here. However, the more interesting thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about here, they kind of just glanced over it, is the fact that Saint Sommers freaked out when he saw Gaban. Now, like I said, the reaction itself isn't a big deal because it's of Scopper Gaban, but the reason behind it is kind of a big deal, because, like, why would you be scared of someone if you were immortal and you could just regenerate? He knows for a fact that Scopper Gaban is a threat to him specifically. Forget his power, he's freaking out because of his own well-being. So that means that he knows that these people can hurt him. And as I was speculating about, like, the hockey, about how it works and stuff like that, so they do have a weakness that they are aware of. And it seems like people that, you know, have, like, advanced Conquerors hockey are able to exploit it. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that quick note in there. But yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Another 2-week break coming up. So sad to see that. But yeah, this is the One Piece chapter 1148. Let me know what you guys think. I'm super excited. I can't wait for the next 2 weeks. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Bye-bye.